So, just got done with therapy and a couple things, we talked about and everything. We talked about testosterone, and I watched this thing that a biologist made about testosterone and how it works in men and his recommendations to men because of it and stuff. And it was a big long thing, and it was very, very interesting, like super interesting. I was curious since I'm going to be going on testosterone and this stuff, but also I've always produced too much testosterone to be in female ranges. I did not know this because I've always been terrified of doctors. I never investigated stuff like this. I never paid attention to what doctors were saying to me very closely because it's been a detriment. Don't do that. Women's ranges is 60 and under. Most women is more around like 20 and under for their testosterone. That's like insane to me. Men's is more like 200 to 1,000, and under 350 is like a really depressed guy. If you're under 200, you're like really, really depressed and unhealthy. I have had testosterone levels that basically fell between those two things, which means I basically have the testosterone levels of a unhealthily depressed guy. And I've had that my entire life, and I did not know that was a thing because I never looked up what number ranges were actually healthy or anything, which was just shocking to me. I don't remember every single time I've ever been tested, and honestly, I've been to the doctor little enough in my life that I probably don't have super accurate testing because it's not going to be regular, consistent testing. But I cannot remember a single time in my entire life that I had that low of testosterone, like what a girl's supposed to have, which is just like nuts to me. Like ever in my entire life, ever. Which is just like, what? The other thing is, men have a cycle that, their testosterone levels, are influenced by, which is called an HPG cycle, which is basically the hypothalamus in your brain gets triggered by some other part of your brain being sensitized to, say, hot girl, or, ooh, challenge ahead, or, hey, competition against you is there, or whatever it is, and it triggers a hormone to be produced in the pituitary, and then the pituitary says, hey, gonads, produce lots of testosterone. And then your testosterone release actually helps engage a dopamine release later. I did not know that was a thing. And quite frankly, my entire life makes so much freaking more sense to me because I'm pretty sure my entire life I have lived by that cycle and I did not understand it. I can even remember like being 5 and having that cycle. And the HPG cycle of encounter a challenge, take on the challenge, beat the challenge, find a victory over the challenge. If someone is there to witness and validate your victory, even better, especially if that someone happens to be female. But if anyone can witness it, even better. And then immediately, once that victory is obtained, go looking for something else to be the new challenge and create more progress. The worst things in my entire life are being stagnant or stuck or feeling trapped and not being able to move forward and look for progression, look for challenges, or else doing something, accomplishing something, and it being fruitless. I'm putting all this effort into a challenge, and then at the end, it didn't even matter. Those are the worst things to me. Just like absolutely awful. I can't stand it. And that is extremely in correlation with this cycle that men have, which means that I somehow, at some point in my life, instinctually or naturally or whatever it was, created this dopamine release system that is like a man's. And I don't understand how that's possible unless my deep dark dream of being intersex is somehow magically true and I do have some sort of internal gonad, or else how? I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. Women usually get their dopamine release based on cortisol, which cortisol is your stress hormone, which I also did not know until I was watching this and understanding this from, again, this biologist. I was like, what? I do not get anything, as far as I'm aware, out of cortisol. So that's very interesting to me as well. It's like, wow, my life is being explained to me by my hormone imbalance. I have been told I have a hormone imbalance, but I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand what was going on with that. Watch this documentary, and it's like, holy crap. So I was telling my therapist about the documentary and stuff, and she was like, yeah, just makes sense. Just one more, thing for adding to your life, that you've been a boy the entire time. The way you react to the world, the way that you respond to social situations, and the way that you are always a leader, always, having this progression mindset. All of these things are just, you were a boy the whole time. And it's just like, what, And she's like, whether you're intersex or not, whether they find a gonad there or not, it doesn't matter, because you've been this way your whole life. You've always just been a boy. Which is just like, just mind-boggling a little bit. Because I had no idea that that's like a scientifically proven behaviors. And it's all influenced by your hormones. And that my hormones were like, all I knew was I had a hormone imbalance. Specifics, that means talking to doctors. And now I have to talk to doctors, so might as well try to get educated on testosterone. I was like, I'm going on testosterone. Here's a testosterone documentary thing. I should watch this testosterone thing because I'm going on testosterone. And it was done about men. It wasn't done about trans men. And yet it still completely 100% applies to my entire freaking life. Like, what? Like, my whole life is like reflected in this information, and it's like so interesting. I was just like, wow. And I hope there is a gonad in there, just so I can be like, here's my medical proof. My entire life, my parents were worthless. My parents were useless. My parents insisted that it was a spiritual issue and not a medical one. They knew something was up with me. Even if they were ignorant to trans issues, they knew something was up with me, and they didn't investigate it because religion. They never helped me. They never looked into it at all. It's just, if I had the medical proof of it or whatever, I could tell them, take that to your grave. But also, 1 in 200 people being intersex means that there's 199 people who aren't per every unit of 200. And it's much more likely that I'm one of the 199 than the 200, right? Like, intersex was my pipe dream of, oh, that would be the only way that it would be okay for me to be a boy my whole life. So I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this is proof that I must be intersex, because that would be just like feeding into a fantasy or a delusion. But if I was, I would not just be very happy about it, because when I got sex reassignment surgery, instead of an implant, they could put my own testicle in there. But also, it's like, it's something I always wanted to be, and it would be this, again, this big validation thing. But whether I am or not doesn't change the fact that I am male, and that I am very much like ready for transitioning and living the rest of my life the way I wish I would have been living my life up until now, you know. Wish I would have done sooner. And there's so many times I was so close to it. Oh my gosh, so freaking close to accepting my own transness. And I just look at all those times and I just shake my head at myself. At the same time, I wasn't safe. It wasn't safe to transition. I moved here for my spouse and my girlfriend, but moving here and getting away from my family and getting away from that nonstop fear and getting away from living for them, doing everything for them, being separated from my family has helped me so completely immensely. I had some anxiety attack issues today, talking about dysphoria and dealing with it and stuff, but at the same time, hopefully once the appointment happens and I do get into this trans system, I can go back to having some relief from the dysphoria, and that would be awesome. I did feel a little tiny smidge of relief today, because I went and I measured the widest part of my stomach again, and I've lost another 3 inches around my gut, which is so strange, because on the one hand I'm like, hey, and on the other hand, I'm not actually trying to lose my gut. I'm trying to build muscle all up here and stuff. Just the act of exercising and, you know, doing things is also happening to burn a little bit of, you know, fat. But it's funny. The other thing is, part of me was like, well, hey, and part of me was like, well, dang, because I really love my boxer briefs, and I haven't noticed any like, oh, they're so loose on me thing yet. But I knew when I got them that I was going to still be exercising and still be going down in sizes and stuff. I knew this was going to happen, but at the same time, it's like, man, I really love them. I love my boxer briefs. I don't want to grow to the point where I can't even wear them anymore. And yet, at the same time, there's a part of me that does, so that I can get new clothes and stuff and feel awesome about those clothes. It's just, I really love my boxer briefs. And I can get more, you know, I've been budgeting for saving up for stuff like that. Which is hard when you live on a really, really tight budget, but at the same time, it's important. Goodness, I really, really love my boxer briefs, and they help with my dysphoria so much, and it makes me feel like, when I wear them, and getting more isn't gonna change the ones that I already have. I genuinely love, And so I'm really glad that I haven't felt like this, oh, they're like loose on me and stuff like that feeling at all. I'm glad that I bought a size down when I bought them in the first place. But in another couple of months, they might be starting to get somewhat loose on me. And they're basically new. Like, I haven't done anything that would, like, start to destroy them or cause them to have any problems or anything. And they're so awesome. I wish I'd been wearing boxer briefs my whole life. They're awesome. But it's like, what do you do? One of the consequences of, you know, changing up the way that your body is shaped is not all your clothes are going to stay fitting. But again, I knew when I bought them that this was going to happen, that I was going to be still probably losing some inches. But I thought it was going a little slower. Like before, I was losing like an inch to an inch and a half a month. And this month I lost 3 inches. So that's a pretty like big shift. Also, I did 50 slanted push-ups. So I feel like I am gaining muscle gradually as well, while I'm doing this, which is something as well that makes me really happy, is I want to be gaining some muscle. So I was talking to my therapist. I don't really scar very much, like at all. I just don't. So I'm not super worried about like how horrible my scars would look after surgery or whatever. I'm gonna put silicone strips on them and call it good. Like, I have tons of reasons why I should have lots and lots of scars, and I just don't. I don't know if it's because I'm so pale. I don't know if my skin's just really good. I have no idea. I don't know why. I just don't really scar. And that's something we were talking about today too, is I was realizing that. But really, the biggest thing I think I was realizing was the impact that hormones have. Like, and the impact that that hormonal cycle has had, and the influence that it has, and the power behind that. Like, my life has been defined so significantly. I realized that I probably would have eventually come to a point where I successfully killed myself with all those attempts that I made when I was a kid. I eventually would have gotten past being a kid and started to know more real ways to attempt things, and eventually found a way to be successful. If it wasn't for this innate cycle and being a boy in a hyper religious, ignorant environment full of abuse and non acceptance, almost killed me because I was trapped in a girl body and everything, but at the same time, being a boy mentally and internally and with my hormones probably saved my life, because I eventually got to a point where I was like, anything is better than this. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything at all is better than this. And so I just, without any assurance of what I was going to do, without any plans, didn't have a job, didn't have a place to live, didn't have anything, left. Because anything was better. And I could find something and progress from there. New challenge, just something different. Anything is better. I'm not the kind of person who's like terrified of change. And that's an important thing. That's an important thing for me being alive right now. It's mind-boggling. It's powerful. Hormones are powerful, man. Hormones are really, really powerful. I don't think people realize that. I think people take hormones for granted too much. Hormones influence so much about your mood, about how much fat you store, about your like confidence and your mental function. Like hormones are just powerful, powerful things. Um, Hormones are what made us a species, you know. In the primordial soup, there was only creatures with estrogen, and then there was this change, and they don't know why the change happened. It just happened, and estrogen became capable of splitting its markers around to create testosterone and cortisol. And if it wasn't for that change, there wouldn't be fish, birds, mammals, all the stuff with skeletons. Instead, there'd just be cephalopods and insects and stuff. It's very interesting stuff. If you've never looked into what hormones can do, it's impressive. But yeah, just made me really, really like think about my life and myself and stuff. I have no idea what my testosterone levels are now. I have not gotten that checked since it's like at least 5-6 years. I have no clue, so I don't even know. I I don't go to the doctors, uh, but I'm gonna be going to the doctors a whole freaking lot, and I'm sure they'll tell me, and we'll see what it'll be. It's just wow. Anywho, a lot on my mind. I have appointments on Monday, and today is Thursday. Four days till the day. A lot on my mind. Also, I'm almost caught up on these vids. I was looking, I'm only 2 behind at this point on uploads versus creating videos. So, like, I'm more close to current events or whatever with my vlog than I've, been in the past. I finally about caught up on that, so, woo. um, Not that I'm sure, again, that there's not many people that would care, but hopefully it's helping someone. Um, Even if it's not, it helps me. I definitely, I still watch these back and try to glean from my own self, talking to myself, and it helps me a lot. Um, Not just comparing how I feel in the moment versus how I felt then, but also just, and not even just the progress, although progress obviously affects me really well because, but also it's like it clarifies it. Like, right now I'm saying I'm thinking about this. When I listen to it back, it's like it becomes more clear, more sharp, more. Oh, well, now I have a greater understanding or whatever, or oh, I can take the jumble out. I tend to talk and just sort of throw out a bunch of information, and my brain sorts all that information as I'm listening back. I don't know. Anyway, it helps me, so that's good. But yeah, just hormones are a trip. Anyway, have fun.